My name is Austin Edwards, and I am proud to say that I am president of this Trenton NAACP. And I welcome you all here today on this Founders Day of this Trenton NAACP. I thank you all for coming out here, bearing the cold, to celebrate and commemorate the work over this last 113 years. And here and now, I especially am grateful because we all stand on the shoulders of giants. Amen. Recently, I had a conversation with one of the elders here in Trenton who lamented about how often we forget those who came before us. But I have to say today, we will not forget. We will recognize them and tell how they shaped us and how we became the Trenton NAACP because of them. I'm reminded of Augustus Washington, a free black man born here in Trenton, New Jersey, who was a noted African-American abolitionist who worked alongside Samson Peters, a formerly enslaved man who was a founding member of what became my home church of Greater Mount Zion AME, Trenton's first black church. Both of them were vocal abolitionists who attended the first convention of the American Society of Free Persons of Color. And can you imagine the backdrops that they went through in the late 1800s? Ending of slavery, the freedoms that they thought that they had, the beginning of Reconstruction, and what eventually became the end of Reconstruction, the hope that they thought that they had dried up before their eyes. But even with that, our fight continued. In the era of war creeping to their doorsteps, economic depression banging on their doors, and the reality of segregation surrounding their houses, I'm reminded of the struggles that we face today. Because we did not, and they did not just have to face racism outside of their house, but racism existed all the way up to the White House itself. Back in those days, we had a president who was screening the popular movie of the time, Birth of a Nation, that depicted hooded figures, masked figures, going into neighborhoods left and right, rounding up neighbors, snatching them up, killing them, and taking them off into who knows where. And if this doesn't represent the same struggles that we face here today in 2026, and a weird twist of fate, we also have a man in our White House who has the same racist values that we fought years later. A man who had racist ideologies against many peoples. And that same book that he authored was on our president's nightstand today. This is the backdrop of the work that we do today with the Trenton NAACP. So founded in 1913 by a group of African American community leaders, including the Reverend John A. White, the most prominent founder, who was the pastor of Shiloh Baptist Church, who specifically founded the branch 50 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, because our community was disturbed by the worsening conditions for black residents here in Trenton. The goal then was to establish and create a better environment for both black and white residents of the city. And the legacy that they established was that one that would create many notable civil rights leaders up to this day. One of them was a future founder and president of this NAACP, Dr. Henry J. Austin, a physician, and I have to brag a little bit, a Howard University graduate, all right? Shout out to HU, all right? I hope you know. A proud doctor who he himself suffered from the wiles of segregation, could not practice in Princeton and was forced to come here to Trenton, New Jersey, but still served his community proudly. Through his work, inspired other community leaders. I think of Gladys Hedgepath and Berlene Williams, who in 1943, those two mothers sued the Trenton Board of Education and their children because their children were denied entry to a nearby junior high school due to their race solely. And that victory that they were able to win was the foundation of what later became the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court case. Robert Queen, the NAACP lawyer who took that case and also fought here in Trenton to desegregate the swimming pools in the school district. Especially important to me as a member of the Trenton School Board today. I honor their work and the legacy that they left behind. But we cannot celebrate that moment in time in the 40s because shortly after that, did we have the case of the Trenton Six. 6 black men, and I will name them: Colin English, Ralph Cooper, Horace Wilson, John McKenzie, James Thorpe, McKinley Forrest, who were wrongfully convicted of murder in 1948. But luckily, their case garnered international attention and became a rallying cry for other civil rights leaders like Paul Robeson and W.B. Du Bois, who championed their exoneration. These are the cases and legacies that we have here in Trenton. They inspired leaders like the Reverend Samuel Howard Woodson, who also was a president of Shiloh, the Reverend of Shiloh Baptist Church, and president of this Trenton NAACP. Future black first speaker of the New Jersey General Assembly. A political trailblazer who was responsible for bringing the Civil Rights March on Washington in 1963 to our doorstep here in Trenton, and helped calm the 1968 Trenton riots. Inspiring future leaders decades later, the Jenny Stubblefields, a political figure here in Trenton, the first African American woman to serve on Trenton City Council, who herself was a part of that civil rights movement, who served in council for 14 years, earning the nickname Jenny from the Block, who inspired education pioneers like Edith Savage Jennings, Dr. Crosby Copeland, Dr. Jack Washington, and so many others, shoulders that we stand on today. I'm reminded in this moment of the African symbol of Sankofa, that we often have to look back, but we do not simply just look back. We constantly move forward. Behind me is the symbol, this archway that leads to children, multiple children playing. I myself have a child here in Trenton, my daughter Maya, who is the future of this city. And like these children, I am inspired by the Reverend Martin Luther King and his holiday that is coming up. I'm reminded of his words that he said, "I have a dream that one day little black boys and little black girls will be holding hands with little white boys and little white girls and little Latino boys and little Latino girls and little Asian boys and little Asian girls and LGBT girls and LGBT girls and. This is the 113-year legacy of the Trenton NAACP. I thank you all for being here, joining us today, and I especially ask you all to join us specifically with the NAACP. Please renew your membership if you haven't yet, pay your dues, and be a part of us if you haven't had the opportunity in the first place. Because we're not just simply looking back, we are also moving forward. So thank you all. If there's anyone else who would like to specifically say something, we'll leave some time on the mic. But I'm glad to again serve as your president of the Trenton NAACP.